Support for Amanpour comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully, so you can be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Amanpour.
Tonight, my exclusive interview with Barbara Underwood, the woman suing President Trump and his children over their family charity, and her extraordinary rise to the top as New York's first female Attorney General. Plus, my conversation with South Korean Foreign Minister Kyung-wha. She says President Trump has opened a new, peaceful chapter for the Korean Peninsula. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the program. I'm Christiane Amanpour in London. The U.S. president's legal troubles are mounting, and this time it is personal. The New York Attorney General, Barbara Underwood, my guest tonight, is suing Mr. Trump's charitable family foundation with serious allegations, including the illegal use of those funds for his presidential campaign and for settling his personal accounts. First, though, a quick reminder of Underwood's rise. Her former boss, New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, was a bombshell casualty of the Me Too era, accused by former female partners of shocking domestic violence. He denied the charges published in The New Yorker, but still he resigned within hours. Barbara Underwood took his place, and she has a stellar record. A clerk for Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, first in her class at Georgetown Law School, and now she's running New York's top law enforcement office, which has proven to be a major legal counterweight to some of President Trump's policies, for instance, on immigration, the environment. And today, as news of the lawsuit against Mr. Trump became public, Barbara Underwood joined me from New York for this exclusive interview. Attorney General Underwood, welcome to the program.
I'm very glad to be here.
So firstly, congratulations. You are the first female Attorney General of New York State, and we'll get more into that. But your first big case, which you're announcing right now today, is an investigation into the Trump Foundation, into Donald Trump himself, and indeed all three of his children. What exactly are you alleging, and what has happened in this case?
What we are alleging is that this Trump Foundation violated a number of laws of the state of New York that govern the way a foundation, a nonprofit corporation, is required to govern itself. And that, so those are procedural violations, and that the money of that foundation was distributed for impermissible purposes, personal purposes, business purposes, political campaign purposes, rather than for the charitable purposes that the foundation was established to perform.
Can you give us particular details, and how much money are we talking about?
I think $2.8 million that were spent for, that we allege were spent for improper purposes of the type I've just described. Mm-hmm. And then there are penalties under the statute as well. So what we're asking for is the return of the restitution of the money that was improperly spent, and then penalties for violating the law, and of course the dissolution of the corporation and the distribution of whatever assets it may still have.
So basically what you want to see is the dissolution of the Trump Foundation. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
How unprecedented is this, Attorney General, for a sitting president to be petitioned in this regard?
Well, I think what I want to say is it's not at all unprecedented for a nonprofit corporation, for a charitable foundation, to be held to account for these violations. It is not, I'm unaware of a case in which the foundation involved was run by a sitting president, but there's no reason why a foundation owned and operated by a sitting president should be exempt from the laws that we routinely apply to other foundations.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been investigating, or has the Attorney General's office been investigating this?
About 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And in the release that you have made, there's allegations, or you describe it as this foundation being used as a personal checkbook for matters that the law does not allow a foundation to be used.
That's right. It paid the business and personal obligations of various Trump enterprises, and its assets were used for supporting, promoting the presidential campaign. Neither of those is a permissible purpose for a charitable foundation.
And I wonder if you have your notes there, you could maybe just refer to them and tell me exactly what political bit of this you're talking about. Was it a debt he owed? Was it to, I don't know, how did he allegedly use this money during the campaign?
Just before the Iowa caucuses, the campaign coordinated with the foundation to direct the disbursement of money to Iowa charities, and to give the campaign credit for the distributions that were being made. And there are, I believe, attached to our complaint photographs that show that when the foundation was distributing money, it was basically attributed to the campaign.
Mm-hmm. And just so that we're clear, again, extensive self-dealing to further Trump's business interests, like paying off a Mar-a-Lago debt, that's one of the allegations, correct?
That's right. That's correct. That's right. His businesses, I believe there are various legal obligations of his enterprises promoting his hotels. I believe there are a series of non-charitable purposes to which these funds were.
And you just referred and explained illegal coordination between the campaign and the foundation around the Iowa caucuses is what you allege. There are apparently emails, including from Corey Lewandowski, who was one of his key aides during the campaign. And you also allege other mismanagement issues, Trump making all the decisions himself without proper management structure.
Right. The proper management structure is what I was referring to earlier when I said there are procedures about the way a board of a foundation is supposed to operate, and the principles, the decisions that are made to distribute money from the foundation.
And Attorney General Underwood, are you going to seek to depose Mr. Trump?
I don't think that will be necessary, but I really can't. It wouldn't be appropriate, I think, at this point to discuss the details of where this is going. We have filed a complaint, a petition, we've made allegations. We believe we've got undisputed facts here that will justify the relief we're seeking.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Trump has tweeted a response. Here we go. The sleazy New York Democrats and their now disgraced and run out of town AG Eric Schneiderman are doing everything they can to sue me on a foundation that took in $18.8 million and gave out to charity more money than it took in, 19.2. I won't settle this case. What do you make of that? What's your reaction?
Well, there are several points that are made there. This is not either a sleazy or political action, nor was it brought by Mr. Schneiderman. This is a straightforward case of violation of the laws governing charitable foundations and nonprofit corporations in New York.
So you're saying it was not brought by Mr. Schneiderman, but the tweet goes on to say, Schneiderman, who ran the Clinton campaign in New York, never had the guts to bring this ridiculous case, which lingered in their office for almost 2 years. Now he resigned his office in disgrace, and his disciples brought it when we would not settle.
We brought this case when we were confident that we had the evidence and the legal arguments to back it up. And it obviously was not settled.
This is a big first case to take on. Are you prepared for the slings and arrows that are going to come your way?
I hope so. I think so. I mean, I have spent decades trying to apply the law without fear or favor. I have never been interested in either exempting somebody from the law because of their political position or enforcing the law especially against them because of their political position. There's no reason why I would do anything differently.
Let me just read to you what the New York Times said when you took office in May. Despite a life of firsts, first in her law school class, the first woman to serve as the nation's Solicitor General, and now the first to serve as New York State's Attorney General, Barbara Underwood has spent most of her career as a number two. So I guess, how does it feel to be number one?
Feels fine. I could ask the same of you, I suppose.
No, not of me. This is all about you today and about the law and about women in the law. So tell me, what do you think, as a woman, you bring to the law that perhaps men don't have similar sensibilities?
I have spent a large part of my professional career starting when I was clerking for Thurgood Marshall, attacking discrimination of various kinds. And it was always important to him, and it is to me, to understand two things: that when you exclude a group from decision-making, you lose something important, and yet it is not true that all members of that group see the world the same way. So it's a little bit hard to specify exactly what I bring. I bring a life experience that's a little different. One person that I worked for said that he wanted me to be his second in command because we disagreed so well. And I've always liked that compliment. I think that he valued that I would disagree with him and that we would find a good and congenial way to resolve the disagreements.
That is really refreshing to hear in this day and age, I must say. You join an illustrious but somewhat troubled recent group of attorney generals of New York State. Were you surprised by the allegations of domestic abuse that were brought against Schneiderman and over, drinking and indulging and the kind of physical violence that he's alleged to have meted out to the women in his life, to some of the women in his life?
I was stunned, and everybody that I have spoken to about this in the office was stunned. We had no knowledge, no clue, no reason to believe or suspect anything of the sort. But we have moved forward. I have felt that the most important thing, the most important part of my mission at the beginning was, a month ago, was to turn everybody's attention forward rather than back. We have a lot of wonderful, important work to do, and very talented people working on it, and I wanted to make sure that everybody felt supported and encouraged to keep going.
Why are you not seeking this as a permanent elected office? Why is it that you've said that you will only stay until others can contest for this job?
Running for office during this period would make it impossible to do the job that I am doing. I think there are competing demands on a person's time and attention, and I felt that the very important job that I wanted to do immediately was to bring the office together to keep going forward. I have also said that I would be happy to help anybody who help the next Attorney General if they want my help.
I'm going to push you a little bit on that because many of the laments about why there aren't enough women in these top positions, particularly in elected office, as is the Attorney General office, we need you in the arena. And if you don't get into the arena, there won't be more women in these leading positions. Are you sure you won't reconsider? I mean, if it was a guy, he'd still be doing the prosecuting and the investigating, and he'd still be running for office.
I'm sure that running for office is not where my talents lie and my interests, and that I can be most useful to the people of the state of New York and maybe beyond the state of New York doing what I'm doing now.
Attorney General Barbara Underwood, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for giving us your very first interview, and particularly on this rather important day. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Support for Amanpour comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Amanpour. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, and MLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. Been putting off buying new glasses? Zenni Optical offers a huge variety of high-quality, stylish frames and state-of-the-art optics, starting at just $6.95. We've got all the great frame styles you want in materials like titanium, carbon fiber, and high-luster acetate. Plus, Zenni offers prescription glasses and sunglasses. So at this great price, you can build your eyewear wardrobe. You can get 10% off your entire order with code 360. So visit Zenni, Zenni, today at zennioptical.com and use code 360.
Hey, it's Howard Beck, and I've got Marcus Thompson of The Athletic on Bleacher Report's The Full 48.
Kevin Durant was incredible. For 3 straight games,
Yes.
he was insanely good in all facets of the game. And in the end, he says, I can't do this without Steph. I guarantee you that matters more to Steph than the Finals MVP.
So check out The Full 48 now on the Bleacher Report app or subscribe at Apple Podcasts.
Now, another majorly important issue for President Trump is to take this Singapore summit with Kim Jong-un further. But meantime, just for a moment, look at this. North Korean state media is having a field day with this stunning footage of President Trump returning the salute of North Korea's top general and defense secretary during his summit with Kim Jong-un. Let's not forget that back in 2012, Trump called then-President Obama an amateur for dipping his head to the Saudi king. Today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was briefing regional leaders in Seoul and Beijing on the summit and reaffirmed sanctions relief only would happen when North Korea is completely denuclearized. He claims the Chinese President Xi Jinping is on board despite Beijing suggesting loosening those sanctions just after the summit ended. But the debate over what the U.S. actually got out of the summit with the North Korean dictator continues. Many paint his order, Trump's order, to halt joint military exercises with South Korea as a significant concession to Kim in return for just vague promises of denuclearization. So I put all of this to the South Korean Foreign Minister, Kyung-wha, when she joined me for an interview from Seoul right after her meeting with Mike Pompeo. Foreign Minister Kang, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Christian. It's good to be with you again.
So we have spoken several times. We've spoken before the summit. Can you, in broad terms, tell me how safe do you feel today?
Well, I think we're feeling pretty good. I think the summit and the outcome in the larger scheme of things, if you look at it from the 7 decades history on the Korean Peninsula, this is truly historic. It is a huge turning point, and I think we're deeply grateful for this to Mr. Trump, the president, my counterpart, Mr. Pompeo, and of course all of us who have worked towards the meeting and its outcome.
So I want to push you on the statements by President Trump. Let me just read you a tweet that he made as he landed after the summit. Just landed a long trip, but everyone can now feel much safer than the day I took office. There's no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea. Meeting with Kim Jong-un was an interesting and very positive experience. North Korea has great potential for the future. And of course, we do remember that he said it has great potential in terms of real estate. But I want you to tell me, North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat. Is that what you believe?
Well, I think the fact is that they still have the nuclear capabilities, but I think what he is saying is that we've made a huge step forward, huge strides towards eliminating that threat. So yes, we are well on our way, but the hard work of actually eliminating that lies before us.
But Foreign Minister, isn't that the point? You know, it wasn't so long ago that Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump were trading massive insults, also trading insults and threats between North and South Korea. And I think everybody who witnessed the historic handshake between Trump and Kim realized the precedent-setting nature of that. But what is the substance to back up those warm words and that handshake? What is the substance that you can take to the bank? What has to happen next?
Well, I think the substance lies in the discussions that among the leaders themselves, both at the U.S. North Korea level and also at the South Korea North Korea level, which has happened twice already, as Mr. Trump said in his press conference about the further commitments by the chairman himself to eliminate a missile engine testing facility. We'll see what that actually means further as we study this.
Foreign Minister, it's very rare to hear this kind of assessment compared to the past. We have all been told to look out for concrete action, not just empty or unsubstantiated promises. President Trump told us that that after they had signed the declaration, that the North Koreans had pledged to, I don't know, destroy or whatever this engine testing site. Your own military and intelligence have said that up until now we have not observed any special movement there. There are areas that South Korea and the U.S. are surveilling with interest, but no special movement. And so I put it to you that it is the intercontinental ballistic missile capability that changed the equation about the threat from North Korea. What do you need to see to make sure this threat is over? Everybody knew they had weapons. It was the intercontinental ballistic missile capability that changed the threat. What do you need to see next?
Well, we do need to see for sure that the engine testing site, which is critical to their ability to develop ICBM, that being dismantled, as the chairman himself had told President Trump. We'll see. And we expect that to happen, but we will know for sure when that actually happens.
Meantime, can you just tell me, was South Korea given a heads up that President Trump was going to declare an end or a suspension or whatever we want to call it to the joint military training maneuvers? And as you see, he did adopt the North Korean language about them being war games and provocative. Were you given a heads up? Did you know he was going to put that to Kim Jong-un?
Well, we were notified, and we respect his judgment in this. I think that comes from his discussions with the chairman, and I think he had judged that based upon that discussion, this is something that he wished to say, and he notified us before the announcement. But we've also said in our Panmunjom declaration that we need to take measures to reduce the military tension. And this is very much in line with what President Trump has said and further clarified by Mr. Pompeo, that this is not to stop it, just to stop it, but to the extent that the North Koreans continue to engage in good faith discussions with the U.S., with us, to the extent that they take concrete, genuine action towards denuclearization.
Well, certainly your president has said there needs to be a further review of this decision, and your military seem to have been blindsided, just like the U.S. military seem to have been blindsided. But let's take you at face value and say that this is something that you believe needs to be done in order to show good faith and willingness to enter a new kind of dialogue. What then do you make of the fact that most analysts cannot find any concession that the North Koreans have made? There was no declaration of their nuclear stockpile or their missile stockpile. There was no pledge beyond sort of a pledge to reaffirm that they would continue progress towards denuclearization. And even there, they used the same language about the Korean Peninsula, which, as you know, and there was nothing about verifiable or irreversible. Absolutely nothing that we were told about that. Does that not worry you?
Well, I think you need to, again, take this from a larger perspective and not just focus on the nuclear issue. I think the political context of discussion has shifted by the meeting between the North Korean and the President of the United States. This is truly historic. I think the fact that they have decided to start a new chapter in their relationship, overcoming 7 decades of hostilities. But I think there's a lot of discussion about the missing V and I in the CVID in the outcome. And I think, we have to understand that what the goal is complete denuclearization. And by that, we certainly mean the complete dismantlement of the North Korean weapons, the materials, and the facilities, and so on.
Foreign Minister, I fully understand where you're coming from, and you sit right on the doorstep of a nuclear and missile threat. So I understand that you want to shift this historic tension. But I'm still trying to figure out, there seems to be a lot taken on faith. And even in the issue of sanctions, already the Chinese are saying, well, look, we're in a new era. Certainly, North Korea deserves sanctions to be removed. North Korea media themselves are portraying this as a win-win for North Korea, that they've been pledged to sanctions relief. That's what the media is saying, that they've been treated as equals on the international stage, and that was the main reason for this summit. Let me play to you what Secretary of State Pompeo has said about the sanctions.
When we refer to the mistakes of the past, they were providing economic and financial relief before the complete denuclearization had taken place. That is not going to happen. President Trump made that clear, not only in his press conference, but made it clear when he was with Chairman Kim Jong-un himself, that the sequence will be different this time. That's important. It is central to the understanding.
So does that give you some comfort then? All this good faith actually does boil down to sanctions staying on?
Yes, I think we're very much on the same page on sanctions relief, exactly as Mr. Pompeo says. Until we see visible, meaningful, genuine, verified action towards denuclearization, the sanctions will remain in place.
You've almost made light in this interview about verifiable and irreversible, and yet we were told that that was the basic bottom line for the President of the United States from his meeting with Kim Jong-un. What do you need to see? What does the alliance need to see? And is the next move in Kim Jong-un's court?
Very much so. I think he has had a serious discussion with President Trump. He has committed to denuclearization. He has committed to taking action towards denuclearization. So we will see.
On that note, Foreign Minister Kang, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And that is it for our program tonight. Remember, you can always listen to our podcast and see us online at amanpour.com. And you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from London.
Hey, before you go, we wanted to let you know that we just launched the ability for anyone to advertise on CNN podcasts. You're just a few clicks away from reaching millions of people in a way that you never have before. Advertise for a business, event, or kick off an awareness campaign for your brand. Start today at purewinning.com/CNN. Integrating podcasts into your marketing mix has never been easier. Go to purewinning.com/CNN to get started.